Hey guys, welcome to our home. It's Nika and Emeka. It's a crazy time that we live in. The world seems so divided. My wife and I have been really sort of soul searching this January to now as a new year has begun. You know, we're growing, we're changing. We sort of just started to think about what direction we need to go and who we need to be as people to meet this moment. One thing that's really important that came up was stories. So we wanted to take the necessary steps to bring our community together, to increase the voices of support and change and growth and things good. We wanted to take the first step to sort of introduce ourselves because a lot of you know us only by what you see on the interweb. And we realize that you don't really know us other than what you see. So we want to take a moment to introduce ourselves before we start to highlight some of your stories.
Yeah, and we want to really use our platform to elevate your voice and your stories because it's honestly why we do what we do. It's to tell stories and we want to hear what you have to say. So a little bit of background on me. My family immigrated from the Philippines when I was 6. And basically a lot of my adolescence was me going through like an identity crisis, like not knowing who I was. And long story short, we'll get into it more later, but that turned into this like insatiable need for affection and affirmation from men. And that meant me making myself smaller a lot of times. And I was just getting into situation after situation where I had to just keep making myself smaller. And before I knew it, I found myself in a string of abusive situations.
And me, I was born in a village with no running water, no electricity, in the middle of West Africa, Nigeria, Umuahia, Locha, Abia State. My mother wrote a book called Sandals in the Snow, which kind of tells the tale of a family that came to America for education and the American dream. Surprise, we're immigrants, right? Both of us grew up in what would be considered in this day and age like abject poverty. I grew up in a situation where at times I didn't know if I could. I knew I couldn't eat. We didn't know where food were going to come. And we just really leaned on our faith and family and really hard work. So came to America. My dad was here studying. Mom and the 3 of us arrived literally in the winter. And we'd never seen snow before. So hence the sandals in the snow. And it was a journey that kind of blew our minds, and there were a lot of challenges. I mean, over the time of the extended conversations that we're going to have from this, I'll probably sort of reveal to you some crazy stuff that happened to me on the journey. But long story short, my family became educated. We became very sort of upward mobile. All my brothers, all my sisters worked really, really hard with one another through the education system. Both my parents got their PhDs, right?
Growing up, I was always a little bit quirky and kind of weird. And if you follow us, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But it wasn't always well received in school. And so I always just felt out of place. And I knew I really loved fashion. And so I always wanted to go to New York City to study fashion. And we didn't have money, but my dad believed in me. And so he bet on me. And
can you tell about the Coco Chanel thing?
Yeah, he said, why should I let you go to New York City for school? Because it was so expensive. And I said, Dad, I'm going to be the next Coco Chanel. And that really stuck with him. And, you know, I worked really, really hard. I wasn't the richest, wasn't necessarily the smartest, but I just wanted it really badly. And so I worked my way into Barney's New York, RIP. It's no longer around, but I worked in fashion, in buying and in merchandising. And I loved it, but it started to feel really monotonous. And then I had this like another identity crisis. Like, what is my purpose in this space? And that's when I ended up partnering with a anti-abuse organization that really helps empower and lift up women who've been in abusive situations. And I became connected with the CEO, ended up sharing my own story. Didn't even realize fully at the time that I had undergone abuse, but when I started to hear the stories of these survivors, I would see myself in their stories, and something really ignited in me. And we were newly married, and I said to you, yes. Who else would I be married to?
Newly married. I mean, I'm hearing the story. I'm like,
oh my God,
who did you marry? So yeah, so I'm just like, okay.
And I said to you, I really feel like we need to be in the Philippines doing this work with anti-trafficking and helping out. I didn't even know exactly what that would look like, but I really knew that there was going to be a purpose that we had there. And so that's what we did. We moved to the Philippines and we started initiatives and worked with different kinds of people that just basically our sole goal was to empower and uplift and reinstill like a revelation of worth in men and women who had been abused. That's the long story short. And it's funny because while all of that was going on and we felt so good about that, all of a sudden the pandemic hit. And when the pandemic hit, everything shut down and I wasn't allowed to leave our little apartment, and ended up being quarantined essentially for like 2 years because I was considered high risk when I was pregnant and with an infant. And I became severely depressed, and that's when my mental health struggles really escalated, and I had severe postpartum depression. And in an act of desperation, I posted a video on our TikTok with 6 followers. I was really feeling scared because I had a newborn and we could barely afford diapers. We would like look for change in the couch so that I could afford Jollibee, which is like the equivalent of like maybe McDonald's in the Philippines.
So just to reiterate it, like we were in the Philippines. We went to the Philippines primarily for advocacy to help people because we had both been through so much trauma and abuse. When we got there, we were living really well.
It was easy living.
Yeah, it was really easy because cost of living is way different and the US dollar is very strong. But when the pandemic hit, I had a bunch of businesses in the Philippines that literally it was like shut down overnight. So we went from living this like storied life to like abject poverty, like poverty. So please continue, my love.
Yeah, and nobody knew about it because I was just I felt ashamed, and I was already in the throes of depression, and so I didn't know how to ask for help. But I remember we were having trouble buying diapers. We had the equivalent of like $50 in our bank account, and I got on my knees and prayed and said, God, like you got to do something. And that's when I posted a video on TikTok with my 6 followers about depression and what I was really going through, totally unfiltered, with like one of the oldest iPhones, just like no equipment, right? Bare bones. And it went viral. And all the honest conversations after that resonated with you, our audience.
Yeah.
And within like the time frame that our money ran out, we got our first job, and we basically dedicated our platform and made a promise with each other that we would always use this platform to tell stories that resonate with your story. And so this is why we're doing this, is because we're kind of coming back to our first love, which is telling stories that connect with you.
Yeah, because of the fact we were quarantined, because of the fact that we were separated from our families, thousands of miles away from the family, and you couldn't go anywhere or do anything, just sort of locked in the home. And in that space, we were forced to sort of confront one another and a lot of the deficiencies in our relationship and our marriage. But at the same time, also trying to raise a brand new, hot off the press human being. And it was really, really crazy. And my wife did this post, and she did a post, and somebody was like, "Where'd you get that black baby?" Like,
did you borrow it from your neighbor?
Did you borrow that black baby? And my wife came to me. I remember this vividly. My wife came to me, and she was pissed, and she was like, "I can't believe like they did such a thing or would say such a thing." And she was like, "What should I do? I think I'm gonna go like tell this person off." And I was like, "Hey, do what you feel is right." And in that moment, I saw this eureka in her eyes. Like, I'm not gonna tell him off. I'm gonna do like a parody. And because
it was like in real time, it wasn't rehearsed.
No, it was. It wasn't
set up
rehearsed.
The camera right after that conversation.
But it was a reflection of the humor that we share. So it was like the silliness and the weirdness that we share, and she was kind of like, yes, I did borrow this black baby. So if anyone who saw the borrow my black baby video, that's where it was sort of born of really, really hard times, but still finding humor in difficulty, which is a lot of like who we are.
Yeah.
Understand that, like, on the record, we are digital storytellers. We're not like vloggers, we're not actors, we're not like scripting. We're just giving windows into who we are. Like, while everybody was playing football and doing things, while I was in high school and college, I was in theater group, just being a silly willy. And my wife is very similar. We love to be extroverted in controlled moments, and then we're full like introverts.
Yes, it's very strange. I'm really glad I married you.
I am so stoked that you're my buddy and best friend, and my front piece, my side piece, my only piece, my every piece. I wish you so much peace. That's
Peace
a lot
be
of
with
peace.
you.
Peace be unto you. I can feel my halo.
That being said, we want to hear more about you. If you have literally anything you want to talk about, there are no rules, but anything, any questions, any observations about relationships, whatever, like, tell your story, let's talk about it. And we're going to basically take the content for the next video in the comment section based on what you have to say.
Yeah. So just to reiterate, life is just crazy right now for everybody. And what we found from comments and private DMs and such, a lot of people are just really hurting. And they find some of the humorous stuff that we're doing to be really, really healing for them. But we're also finding that people are just really craving substantive conversations. So what's happening in your life? Like, let's talk about it.
There's a bug on the window. Sorry, I have ADD. High five.
Very nice.
Okay.
I get. All right.
Bye.
So,
How do we sign off?
bye. Oh, we do signing off.
I don't know how to close out the video.
We want to, really thank you guys for your ear. We don't take this medium and this interaction lightly. We know that without you, we don't exist in this space. So, thank you for your interest. Thank you for your support. And we just want to offer the same back to you and include you guys on this journey, give you guys a little more of a voice. So it is our joy and our honor to be able to do this with you. You want to wrap?
I love you.
We love you. All right, let's do it.
There's still a bug on the window. Can you go get it?
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
Guys, go get it.
I'm gonna
It's
go
going.
kill a bug.